Welcome to Fantastic Frogs and Perfect Ponds with Frog Life. I'm Chloe and I run a project called Green Pathways in Sussex. I work for Frog Life, a national wildlife conservation charity who are concerned with the conservation of amphibians and reptiles and their habitats. Our vision is a world in which amphibians and reptiles are thriving as part of healthy ecosystems, and you can help us by learning a bit about them today.
Today we're going to learn how to identify UK amphibians and reptiles. We're going to explore the common frog life cycle and discover the features that you need for a great wildlife pond. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what the anthropos is and how it affected wildlife in 2020. Let's get started. First, I'm going to introduce you to our UK amphibians. I'm sure you've all seen frogs, toads and newts around before. These amphibians start life as eggs or spawn in the water. They develop into tadpoles that look like fish with long tails. Then they grow 4 legs and turn into tiny froglets, toadlets or newtlets before leaving the water and spending life on land. They'll only return to the water to breed and to hunt. The common frog is easily our most recognisable amphibian. They're found across Britain and Ireland in almost any habitat where suitable breeding ponds are nearby. Common frogs have smooth skin and long legs for jumping away quickly. Garden ponds are extremely important habitats for them, particularly in urban areas. Adult males grow up to 9 centimetres in length and females up to 13 centimetres. They're usually a shade of olive green or brown, although they can be yellow, pink, red, lime green, cream or black. There are dark patches on their backs, stripes on the hind legs and a dark mask behind the eye, which has an oval horizontal pupil. The common toad is a widespread amphibian found throughout Britain, although it's absent from Ireland. Common toads prefer deeper water bodies in which to breed, including fish ponds, farm ponds, reservoirs or village ponds. They have rough, warty skin and tend to crawl rather than hop. Common toads produce a toxin from a pair of glands on their back, which makes them distasteful to would-be predators. Adult males grow up to 8 centimetres in length, and adult females are larger, with reports of up to 13 centimetres. Common toads are generally brown or olive brown, but may be darker. The belly is usually pale with dark speckles. Toads also have an oval horizontal pupil, but many individuals have a golden iris. And now for the newts. Smooth newts and palmate newts look very similar, but there are a few tricks to learn so that you can tell the difference. Smooth newts usually have a yellow or orange belly that has black spots or blotches, and the males develop a wavy crest along their back during the breeding season. Palmate newts have a yellow belly, but their throats will either be yellow or pink, and the spots will be absent, although there will still be spots on their belly. In the breeding season, males develop a filament at the tip of the tail and black webbing on their feet. Both smooth and palmate newts are more active at dawn and dusk, and they feed on a wide variety of invertebrates. Smooth newts can't tolerate dry conditions like palmate newts can, and this means that sometimes smooth newts are mistaken for lizards, as their skin takes on a velvety appearance. Palmate newts are less widespread than smooth newts, but can be found further away from water as they can tolerate those drier conditions. Smooth newts, like our common frogs we spoke about earlier, are quick to move into garden ponds, whereas palmate newts have a preference for shallow ponds in acidic soils. Great crested newts are the biggest native newt species in the UK and have been around for approximately 40 million years. They're widely distributed throughout Britain, but this distribution is extremely patchy. They're absent from Ireland and they've disappeared from many sites across Europe. During the breeding season, males develop a jagged crest like you can see in the photos, and they're easily recognisable. Great crested newts grow up to 15 centimetres in length. Their skin is black or dark brown and has a rough, warty appearance. Their underside is bright orange with irregular black blotches. Males have a white flash on the tail and females have a yellow-orange one. Warts along the side of the body may also have little white tips on them. In Britain, the natterjack toad is confined to coastal sand dune, marshes and sandy heath areas, and likes shallow, warm ponds for breeding. Natterjack toads are found on about 60 sites in Britain and occur on a small number of sites in the southwest of Ireland. The natterjack toad used to be quite common on the Surrey and Hampshire heaths, and also around the coast of East Anglia, but sadly only 1 or 2 colonies now remain. Reintroduction programmes have now started to boost populations again. In the UK, we have 6 native reptiles. Common lizards are super speedy. They live in dense undergrowth, but like to bask in open, dry, sunny places. They have scaly skin rather than the smooth skin of a newt, and can be up to 15 centimetres long from head to tail. They have a very clever defence mechanism. If a predator catches it, it can detach its tail and run away, leaving the tail twitching on the ground to distract the predator while it runs to safety. Slow worms are not actually worms, and they aren't snakes either, even though they look like them. Slow worms are actually legless lizards. They can also drop their tails when in danger, the same way that common lizards do. Slow worm adults can grow up to 50 centimetres in length and have shiny, smooth skin. Females and males vary in colour slightly, with females having darker sides and males sometimes having blue spots. We have one more fairly common reptile, the grass snake. To recognise these snakes, look for the light-coloured collar just behind the head and the barred markings on the sides. These snakes can reach up to 150 centimetres long, and they're very proficient swimmers. If disturbed by humans, they will move away into the undergrowth. And now onto our rarer reptile, the beautiful adder. Adders are our only venomous snake, and they have a distinctive zigzag pattern going down their backs. They're quite stocky snakes, and they reach around 60 to 80 centimetres in length. They like to bask in sunny areas, in habitats such as heathland, moorland and open woodland. They're very rarely found in gardens. Adder bites are painful, but very rarely fatal, and only usually occur if the snake is deliberately provoked. These snakes prefer to conserve their venom for hunting prey rather than biting humans. We have 2 more very rare land-living UK reptiles, the smooth snake and the sand lizard. These have very specific habitat requirements. Smooth snakes live in heathlands in the south of England, and there are local projects focused on increasing their numbers. Sand lizards have been reintroduced to sites in North Wales and the south and southwest of England, and can almost look tropical when the males turn bright green during the breeding season. We have one final reptile. It's hard to believe, but leatherback turtles, reaching up to 2.5 metres in length, have been seen feeding in UK waters. The best time to see them is in August, when they come here to eat their favourite food, jellyfish. Okay, everybody, pens and quiz sheets at the ready. Let's see how well you do in our frog life quiz. I'll go through the answers at the end, and hopefully all the info I just gave you should help. You can pause between the questions if you need a little more time to think of the answer. Is everybody ready for question 1? Here we go. Question 1. Is the animal in this picture an amphibian or a reptile? If you're stuck, think about the type of skin and also the habitat that it's in as well. Don't forget to pause if you need some time to think. Question 2. Is the slow worm a snake, a legless lizard, or a worm? Is everybody ready for question 3? Scaly skin is a main characteristic of A, reptiles, or B, amphibians. Question 4. Which of our common amphibians has a dark mask behind its eyes? Is it A, the common toad, B, the common frog, or C, the smooth newt? We're on to our last 2 questions of the Frog Life quiz. Question 5. Which of our newts is the rarest? A, the palmate newt, B, the great crested newt, or C, the smooth newt? And question 6. Amazingly, leatherback turtles feed off the coast of the UK, but can you remember the name of their favourite food? Good luck, everyone! Get a different coloured pen and let's see how we did. Question 1. It's a reptile. This is the super quick common lizard. In the photo, you can see that it's on land, and it has scaly skin rather than the smooth, damp skin of a newt. Question 2. A slow worm is actually a legless lizard. Remember, it can drop its tail as a defence mechanism, the same as the common lizard can. These can be found in overgrown areas in gardens in warmer weather, so hopefully you'll be able to see some during the warmer months. Question 3. Reptiles have scaly skin and they like to bask in the sun. Question 4. It's the common frog that has a dark mask behind its eyes. Question 5. The great crested newt is our rarest newt and our largest. It has bumpy skin and the males grow an awesome jagged crest during the mating season. And now the final one. Question 6. Those huge leatherback turtles' favourite food is jellyfish. Well done, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the amphibian and reptile species we have here in the UK. And now for your next challenge. I'd like you all to get into the mindset of a common frog. So if you could stand up from your chairs and get ready, we're going to act out the life cycle of our common frogs. So in the spring, the adults move to ponds to breed, and that's where the female lays the spawn. I would like you to pretend to be a tiny, tiny piece of frog spawn. These are tiny little balls that get laid in clumps and they slowly develop and get ready to hatch. So curl up in a ball as small as you can and then do a little wriggle and see if you can get slightly bigger, until eventually you emerge as a tadpole. Now, tadpoles don't have legs. They are little wiggly tails darting around the pond, looking for food and hiding from predators. So how do you think that would go if you acted it out? Make sure that when you're wiggling around as a tadpole, you keep your arms tucked in tight. As they grow, the tadpoles become faintly speckled with gold and brown, and they feed on algae and water fleas. After around 16 weeks, the tadpoles start to grow back legs, followed by front legs. So get those arms ready, they don't need to be tucked in anymore. Now you're about to transform into a tiny froglet. Once the froglets have absorbed their tails, they leave the water and move onto land. And this is when they start hopping. We've moved from spring to summer, and now we're in the autumn. You started off as a tiny ball of frog spawn, and then you changed into a wiggly tadpole. And then you grew legs and turned into a froglet and were hopping around on the land. Now you need to get ready for winter. Adult frogs will move around gardens and grassy areas and hedgerows and lots of other habitats. They shelter and they feed, and eventually they find themselves somewhere to spend the winter months. So I'd like you to move around, forage some food, and then find a little place to tuck yourself away for winter. And that's the life cycle of the common frog. And it starts again in the spring when the adults go back to the ponds to breed. Now we're going to talk about what makes a really good wildlife pond. Ponds are home to a wide variety of wildlife. They support invertebrates as well as amphibians and provide water for mammals and birds. To maintain a sustainable ecosystem, a pond requires sunlight, oxygen and nutrients moving through the system. There are a few things that make a pond really good for wildlife. Location's important. In early spring especially, the pond will need a lot of sun. This is because frogs prefer warm, shallow water to lay their spawn. An interesting shape encourages different habitats, as do different depths. Shallow shelved areas can be the most diverse areas in a pond, and they're fantastic for tadpoles. Amphibians will move into a new pond if it has suitable habitat, and if they're able to reach it. So take a look around your garden and make sure that they can get in and there aren't lots of solid fences in the way. If there are, see if you're allowed to make a hole underneath them. Moving animals to your pond might accidentally introduce disease, so it's best to wait. If you don't have the space for a pond, A mini or above ground pond can be beneficial too. Amazing extra habitat includes bog gardens, which are areas of marshy ground used by amphibians to stay cool in summer and to avoid drying out. We've got some easy step-by-step instructions for how to build a tub pond in the workshop resources, so take a look at those and see what you can do. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what the anthropos is. In 2020, as I'm sure we're all aware, large parts of the world stopped due to coronavirus. People stayed at home, cars and aeroplanes were used much less, and we all started exploring our local areas a little bit more. This lockdown period has been called the anthropos. It's essentially the time when humans stopped. But what did this pause mean for our amphibians? Lockdowns meant fewer vehicles on the road, which has significantly reduced the amount of frogs, toads and newts being run over on their yearly migration to the breeding ponds. Sadly, as car driving increases again, more animals will be negatively affected by their use. Can you think of some ways to protect wildlife from traffic? I hope you thought of some interesting ideas about how you could help protect wildlife from traffic. You could create tunnels underneath roads. You could create bridges for wildlife. You could even go on a patrol and help amphibians cross the road yourself. Basically, what we need to do is connect more habitat so that those barriers, the roads, and those solid fences aren't in the way and they're not in danger. This pause helped wildlife all across the world. Animals that hadn't been seen in cities moved in again and were seen using roads and parks because there weren't cars anywhere to get in their way and scare them. Everybody was hearing a lot more bird song because traffic noise was less, and it was really quite nice to actually connect with nature a bit better. This pause has given scientists a chance to reimagine our relationship with the natural world. What did you do during lockdown that you enjoyed? As we get back to normal, remember to still take time to help and appreciate nature, and you could be the conservationist of the future.